Prabhupada ki jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam namaskrityam naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim yasam tato chaya udiraye nashta prayeshu abhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati uttama shloke bhaktir bhavati naishtikir. So we're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 8, Text 11. Huh? Yeah. Navatsta nripatir dishnyam. Navatsa nripatir dishnyam. Bhavan arodhum arhati. Bhavan arodhum arhati. Nagrihito maya yattvam. Nagrihito maya yattvam. Kukshav api nripatmajaha. Kushav api nripatmajaha. Navatsa nripatir dishnyam. Bhavan arodhum arhati. Nagrihito maya yattvam. Kukshav api nripatmajaha. Namatsa nripatir dishnam. Bhavan arhodum arhati. Nagrihito maya yattvam. Kukshav nripatmajaha. Navatsa nripatir dishnyam. Bhavan arodhum arhati. Nagrihito maya yattvam. Kukshav nripatmajaha. Vaishnavis. Navatsa nripatir dishnyam. Bhavan arodhum arhati. Nagrihito maya yattvam. Kukshav api nripatmajaha. Na, not, vatsa, my dear child, nripateha, of the king, dishnyam, seat, bhavan, yourself, arodhum, to get on, arhati, deserve, na, not, grihitaha, taken, maya, by me, yat, because, tvam, you, kukshav, in the womb, api, although, nripa atmajaha, son of the king. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki. Queen Suruchi told Dhruva Maharaj, My dear child, you do not deserve to sit on the throne or on the lap of the king. Surely you are also the son of the king, but because you did not take birth from my womb, you are not qualified to sit on your father's lap. Purport. Queen Suruchi very proudly informed Dhruva Maharaj that to be the king's son was not the qualification for sitting on the lap or the throne of the king. Rather, this privilege was dependent on one's having taken birth from her womb. In other words, she indirectly informed Dhruva Maharaj that although he happened to be born of the king, he was considered an illegitimate son because of his birth from the womb of the other queen. Okay, yes, Hare Krishna. Om Jnanatimirandasya Kinanjana Shalakaya Chakshuran Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Namo Bhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapatantikam Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namam Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashchatyate Shatarine Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Navatsa nripatir dishnyam bhavan arod humarhati nakrihito mayat yatvam kukukshav api nripat majaha. Queen Suruchi told Dhruva Maharaj, my dear child, you do not deserve to sit on the throne or on the lap of the king. Surely you are also the son of the king, but because you did not take your birth from my womb, you are not qualified to sit on your father's lap. So we continue the beginning of this pastime, Dhruva Maharaj, and here we hear how Suruchi, with very sharp words, makes a clear point that Dhruva was not qualified according to her understanding. Now, King Uttanapad, he had two wives, Suniti and Suruchi. Suniti being the first one, the elder, and then the younger, Suruchi. And actually, Suniti was very pious. She had all good qualities, very virtuous, very tolerant, very soft-hearted, full of empathy and love. But somehow the king developed greater attachment to the second wife. She was younger, maybe more beautiful, and but her character was in a stark contrast. She was proud. She was very possessive, actually, and she felt like all the attention of the king should go to me and my son. All the love should go there, and there is no place for someone else getting attention. So in that way, binding King Uttanapad with her possessiveness, she reduced him to we say, henchpecked husband. No? The king, although a powerful king, he became very much controlled by Suruchi. And she knew that she had him under control. That's why she also dared to speak so strongly. And Suruchi also knew that actually Dhruva, being the son of the elder queen, was meant to be the next king. But she felt, well, better my son should become the king. So there was this envy. And that's why she wanted to make sure that also the King Uttanapad is not developing too much affection for Dhruva. So keeping him at a distance is always good. And giving main attention to her own son. So, there is this envy, which is very prominent in Suruchi. And of King Uttanapad, because he has had so much attachment to Suruchi, he also became weak. He kind of didn't follow his own principles, because a king and a father, of course, should be, impartial, should be, affectionate, equal to all citizens, and what to speak of children. But somehow he had the similar love to both sons, but the attachment to Suruchi was greater, and that's why he was influenced by it. And also in the next couple of shlokas we will hear how Suruchi, she was very proud, you should perform, should take a lot of vows or vratas, and by your good fortune, if you please Lord Vishnu, you may take birth in my womb. As if taking birth through her womb, it requires a lot of blessings from Vishnu. It's like very, puffed up, very confident about her own glories. Usually we worship Lord Vishnu to become free from the cycle of birth and death, not to take birth again. But she was like, no, if you please Vishnu, then you can take birth from my womb. And also, in some way, very hypocritical, like she posed to be a great devotee, like she should worship Vishnu, but actually she was not at all really a devotee of the Lord. And of course we hear then Dhruva becomes very, very much, actually the words of Suruchi really pierce his heart, his tender heart as a small boy, and he really doesn't know what to do. He cries and he runs. It's described, he began heavily to breathe, and just like a snake struck by a stick breathed heavily, Dhruva was running away, and Dhruva went to his mother Suniti. And also Suniti became very much affected by it. It's described that she was like burning as if in a forest fire. But then Suniti became also very sober. She said, well, in some way whatever your stepmother said is true, because my bad karma doesn't allow that I get attention and affection by the king. I'm only a second wife, not so much favorite. And yes, you should do what your stepmother said. You should worship Vishnu, because that's the way how you can achieve what you want. So it's a very interesting pastime. And for today's lecture, I thought we could focus on two things. One is on the power of words, because these words by Suruchi was, really pierced the heart. So we could talk about this, and then also about the power of tolerance. And I liked very much yesterday's class. Ramananda Gopal Prabhu spoke about how, if something happened in our life, then we often start to lament, oh, why me, why it happens. But actually, we can see here, Dhruva really takes it as a kind of a, he turns around the adversity into a chance to make spiritual progress. So let's see, if time allows, we can also talk about this a little bit. There's many lessons from this pastime, but these are two. So let's first have a look at the power of words. And let's first look at the, if we're not careful and if we have harsh speech. So insensitive speech, and this is our Gauranga Darshan Prabhu, from Govardhan Eco Village. He published a book this year on Dhruva, actually, on this pastime with life lessons. So he made a point there that if you have an insensitive speech, adds a letter S to the word, like the English word. If you put an S in front, it becomes sword, like sword. Das Wort wird ein Schwert. The word becomes a sword. Sword, you say, So that means, you can speak something, and with your words you can, create a relationship, friendship, but you also can destroy them. And that's why it says that words cut deeper than knives or a sword. A knife can be pulled out. Words are embedded into our souls very deeply. If someone is wounded by, if someone sticks of course, if it sticks at the right place, you might die. But in principle, if there is a sword or a knife in your body and you take it out, maybe the wound can heal. And it will take some time, but you can heal. But sometimes, if someone says very harsh words for the rest of their life, that can be very deep hurt, deep. So therefore, words have the ability to deeply impact emotions, belief, and relationships, and therefore we have to be very careful how we use words. So, and if we say something wrong, then someone can be very upset. I'm sure all of us have made the experience, right? That in some interaction with someone, we said something, we became a little bit, agitated. We said something, and then the other person felt completely hurt. And even years later, they're still kind of. You had such experience? I just recently, there was one Bhaktin. Some years back, she did Bhakti program, and she was a bit special, and I had to kind of correct her a bit. But she came back after years, and she told me, when you told me this, I was so hurt, and I'm still so hurt. Like she was like, and I was like, oh my God, what did I say? I didn't remember. And then she told me, you told me that the temple is not a social welfare office. I told her, the temple is not a social welfare office. We can't take care of you. Like I said something like that, because she was. Anyway, there's a long story. I don't get into it, but it was a little harsh. I used a bit harsh words, and she was so. After years, she was still feeling so much pain. So I apologized, but whatever I said, it didn't help. She was still hurt. So yeah, we have to be careful how we deal with people, what we say, because words can be very powerful. Bhagavatam also says in the 11th canto that although one may conquer all of the other senses, as long as the tongue is not conquered, it cannot be said that one has controlled his senses. However, if one is able to control the tongue, then one is understood to be in full control of all senses. We know that controlling the senses begins with the tongue, and the tongue has this two functions. Of course, of accepting prasadam or eating food, tasting, that's the main function, but also speaking. And yoga begins by controlling the tongue, eating, and of course also speaking, and also in Vajo Vigam Manasakroda Vigam, in Rupa Goswami's Upadeshamrita, he says that we first must control the speaking power. And Srila Prabhupada in the purport says that every one of us has the power of speech. As soon as we get an opportunity, we begin to speak. As soon we get a chance, we want to speak. And I remember once we had an anniversary festival. Was some gathering with many like 60 Vaishnavas or so gathering, and this was an anniversary festival, and our host requested that everyone briefly introduce themselves. I know if you have 60 people in a room, everyone briefly introducing, this can be a task. Naturally, the senior devotees like Prabhupada disciples, they spoke a little more because they're the seniors and they have something to say. But then the idea was that everyone else just says the name and where they're from. It didn't work out, because as Prabhupada says, as soon as we get an opportunity, we begin to speak. Devotees. In 1900, they begin their story, like we try to, Prabhu, just your name. But, people have such an urge to speak. And for many, it's not possible to control their tongue properly. And Prabhupada, of course, uses the example of if we do not speak about Krishna consciousness, we speak about all sorts of nonsense. A toad, like a frog, in a field speaks by croaking, and similarly everyone who has a tongue wants to speak, even if all he has to say is nonsense. The croak of the toad, however, simply invites the croaking of the toad, however, simply invites the snake. Please come here and eat me. Prabhupada says similarly the time. We just speak about things that are not relevant and time will just come and take our lives away. So controlling the speech is very important. And of course in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna also speaks about the austerity of speech. anudveka karam vyakyam satyam priyam hitam jayat svadhyayaya bhasanam jaiva yanmayam tap ujayate. Austerity of speech consists of speaking words that are truthful, pleasing, beneficial, and not agitating to others, and also in regularly reciting Vedic literatures. So one should not speak in such a way as to agitate the minds of others. Of course, Prabhupada says that a teacher who wants, has a duty to correct someone, to say the truth, he may speak strong. But he should not speak strong to those who are not his students. I remember once I was in Vrindavan. I just came back from a Tirtha Yatra, and we were in Himalaya, so I had a little bit beard, was not shaved properly. And then I was in Vrindavan Krishna Balaram temple, and I saw one senior devotee, Prabhupada disciple. He's a guru. He's not my guru, but he's a guru. When he saw me, I said, Hare Krishna. He looked at me. Oh, you better get shaved. I was like, oh, we didn't see us for several years. I'm nice to see you. You better get shaved. What's this? I was like shocked, and I felt hurt. And of course, I respect. I didn't argue anything, but I felt this is an example of if I'm his student, then yes, it's his duty to correct me. But I'm not his student, and we have kind of a friendly relationship. So I was a bit taken back by his strong words. So we have to be careful. Where are we teacher and where are we just having a relationship? So non-agitating. That's one aspect we should, especially in this world we live in. Everyone is agitated and everyone is very easily agitated, right? Like you say one little thing and everyone immediately the false ego. So one has to be careful. At the same time, truthful. It doesn't mean that we don't say the truth. We should tell the truth. Like Krishna didn't hesitate to tell Arjuna the plain truth about his reluctance to fight. He was very strong in that. But at the same time, it should be pleasing. And what does it mean to speak the truth but pleasing? It means that we, the way we say it, the tone, how we say something. Can we maybe get a little fresh air? Someone can open a window briefly to get some fresh air. Thank you. So, it's often the way how we address things. And we often have the experience if there's two devotees fighting with each other. I'm sure also you have this experience. Someone says, "Well, I just told him like that," and then that's okay. But how did you told him? It's often the question of how do we say something. Then it should be beneficial, and being beneficial means actually it's the underlying principle. It means we should do it with a proper intention, like the intention to help, the intention to a goodwill. And then also Gita says we should quote from scripture. It should be based on Shastra. So these are some of the advices that we get from Shastra on how we should use words or how should we speak. Now, as today we're starting with the Sankirtan festival, so let's try to also look Shastra Chakshu. Let's look in regards to book distribution, on how to use words or the power of words in relationship to book distribution. So first of all, of course, there is also one proverb. It says, "The pen is mightier than the sword." So again, we have the sword, but here in a positive way. The words can be heavy, they can cut and hurt someone, but the words can also be very powerful in the sense of creating a revolution. And actually, Vaisheshika Prabhu in his book, Our Family Business, he points it out, that any big revolution or reformation in the world, often it started with words, with written words. And he gives the example of like the whole Darwin theory. I mean, it's just a theory, but when Darwin wrote this book on this theory, nowadays nobody reads the book, but the theory is kind of standard. Everyone believes it. So this is how simple words can actually create a revolution and change how people think. And Srila Prabhupada was very well aware of this. Prabhupada very well knew that the written word is very, very powerful. And of course, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur spoke about the Briyat Mridanga, that when we play the Mridanga, then it's loud. If you play too loud, then the neighbors, of course here we don't have neighbors, but in the city temples, if you play too loud Mridanga, then the neighbors become agitated. But the Briyat Mridanga, the loud Mridanga in the form of books, really spread the kirtan, the spoken, recorded kirtan. Prabhupada would say that his books are like recorded kirtan, will spread all over the world. So Prabhupada was very much aware of this, and therefore gave so much stress on his books and book distribution. And it's interesting, once someone posted a photograph of an very old newspaper article from India. This was an article about Prabhupada's achievements in the West, and there was an astrologer was quoted. An astrologer said something about Prabhupada, and that astrologer said that this man's words are very powerful. Whatever he says has a great impact, and his writing is like amazing. His writing is very powerful, and that astrologer said his writing is so powerful as if in his pen there is not ink but gunpowder. Like whatever he writes, it's like very powerful. So it's interesting, like an astrologer could see that in a chart of Prabhupada. And of course, we don't have to be astrologers to know this, because we read Prabhupada's books and we can see how Prabhupada's books are so powerful. Like you read one page and it's like, wow, there's so many purports that we read, especially the Bhaktivedanta purports, so powerful. And actually, this is also this is the sadhu's contribution, or the sadhu's duty. We spoke about this, I think, last time I was here also, on how the sadhu is meant to cut through the illusion through his words. And there's a powerful statement by Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. Let's see if we can read this. Let's... There is no doubt that the words of the sadhus possess the power of destroying the evil propensity of one's mind. The sadhus in this way benefit everyone who associates with them. There are many things which we do not disclose to sadhu. The real sadhu makes us speak out what is there in our hearts. Like when we get in association with sadhus, actually it says that in front of a sadhu we should become naked. I mean, not literally, but we should be naked in the sense that we open our hearts, that we don't hide anything in front of guru or sadhus that we trust. And anyway, the sadhus will make us speak. Like they have this way of confronting us. The real sadhu makes us speak out what is concealed in the heart. He then applies the knife. The very word sadhu has no other meaning than this. He stands in front of the block of the uplifted sacrificial knife in his hand. It's like a very graphic analogy here. So there is the analogy is that the anarthas are like the animal, the anartha, and the sadhu who comes with his words is like the knife that sacrifices, kills the animal. Like the cutting words of the sadhu cuts through the deep illusion of the conditioned souls. The sensuous desire of man are like goats. The sadhu stands there to kill those desires by the merciful stroke of the keen edge of the sacrificial knife in the form of unpleasant language. It's interesting. In the form of unpleasant language. We just heard in Bhagavad Gita we should should speak pleasing words. But here it's the principle of the sadhu or the guru, the teacher, who might apply unpleasant words to his disciples to chastise them or to help them get rid of anarthas. If the sadhu turns into any flatterer, then he does not Actually, he does do me harm and becomes my enemy. If he gives us flattery, then we are led to the road that brings enjoyment, but not real well-being. So it's interesting. Sometimes people think Guru is a person who is always smiling, Radhe, Radhe, and smiling and give blessings and very nice and sweet. But then such a Guru will not give us actually so much benefit. But if the Guru is also sometimes strong and chastises, then that actually is beneficial to remove the anarthas from the heart. So in this way, the words can be very powerful. And certainly Srila Prabhupada's words, Srila Prabhupada's books, have such words, and therefore they are so powerful. Another aspect is that we know that sound vibration, like the whole material world was created by sound, and it's also by sound that we can become liberated from the material entanglement, right? And there's also one of these powerful purport of Prabhupada I'd just like to read, how Prabhupada speaks about the importance of hearing and sound vibration. And of course the books are, as we said, recorded kirtans. So Prabhupada says, the Lord can be realized through the oral reception of transcendental message, and that is the only way to experience transcendental subject. As fire is kindled from wood by another fire, like in wood, fire is already there. You just have to rub the wood and then fire comes out, right? So similarly, the divine consciousness of man similarly can be kindled by another divine grace. So we are already spiritual souls, we are divine beings, and also that love of Krishna actually is already there in the heart. It just needs to be reawakened. As fire is kindled from wood by another fire, the divine consciousness of man can similarly be kindled by another divine grace. His divine grace, a spiritual master, can kindle the spiritual fire from the wood-like living entity by imparting proper spiritual messages injected through the receptive ear. Therefore, one is required to approach the proper spiritual master with receptive ears only, and thus divine existence is gradually realized. The difference between animality and humanity lies in this process only. A human being can hear properly, whereas an animal cannot. So this emphasizes the importance of hearing. That we have the chance to listen. That's why we have Bhagavatam class in the morning, to receive, to listen Prabhupada's purports, to hear realizations, and then in this way. And I find it a very beautiful analogy that actually by that Shabda Brahman, by the spiritual sound vibration that comes from the mouth of the spiritual master, then enters into our ears and then goes into our hearts, and there it actually ignites the fire of devotion. That's already there, like fire is there in the wood. So similarly, it ignites that bhakti. The bhakti that's already there, it will be ignited by the sound vibration of a pure devotee. And of course, that's why the more purity we have ourselves, the more realization we have, the more we actually are able to touch the heart of those who listen. That's why we are meant to listen to advanced devotees. That's why, when sadhus, when sannyasis and gurus and proper disciples and senior devotees come, then we are eager to listen, because they can give what they have. You can only give what you have, and the more realization you have, the more you can actually share. And that's why Prabhupada also would say, what does your 3-minute lecture do? So, but if the person reads one page of my books, his life may be changed forever. Because, of course, Prabhupada, being a pure devotee, his every single word is so powerful. And therefore, Srila Prabhupada's books are so unique and so amazing, because they contain this recorded Shabda Brahman, which can touch the heart. And we see, till today, so many Prabhupada's books still make so many devotees. People read these books and they just feel like, wow, this is what I was looking for. So in this way we can see words are very powerful, and in a positive way also. And I think the beautiful thing with book distribution, of course, I'm not a great book distributor. There are many more qualified devotees to talk about book distribution. But what encourages me to do book distribution from time to time, when I get a chance to do it, is that you become an ambassador of the parampara, and also that I was greatly inspired by Vaisheshika Prabhu's books. We had a chance some years back. Vaisheshika Prabhu was traveling over Zurich, and he had a stop just one day, and then Saturday evening we organized a little lecture, so he gave a speech. I was like sitting there like, wow. It's like such a powerful speaker, amazing. And he spoke about this same topic of the power of words. And he made that point that becoming a book distributor, distributing Prabhupada's books, we really become ambassadors of goodwill in a sense of that we represent the whole parampara, and we are there on the streets creating good fortune for the people that we meet. And one example that is given, like when we go to Vrindavan, we go to, what is the place? Ter Kadam, Kadamba, where Rupa Goswami was writing the Nectar of Devotion and other books. Yeah, like if we are on the streets of, I don't know, Berlin or Hamburg or somewhere, and we give someone a nectar of instruction, and a person gets the book of Rupa Goswami, and sits at home and reads Rupa Goswami's book. It's amazing, and then we go to Vrindavan and we pay obeisances to Rupa Goswami Samadhi, and Rupa Goswami, I'm trying to spread your words, It's amazing, like we don't know, did Rupa Goswami knew that in the future his writing will be, spread all over the world? It's amazing. We still have these original palm leaves, these writings of the Goswamis that are there kept. But who would know that these words will be printed in millions and millions of books distributed around the world? And by distributing Prabhupada's books, we really directly connecting to the parampara and becoming an ambassador to spread the teachings of the Goswamis. That's such an amazing privilege to be able to serve in such a direct way. So in this way, words are very powerful, and we can be part of sharing this knowledge by distributing Srila Prabhupada's books. Of course, another aspect of this is also when we interact with people that we try to distribute books, then it's also very much depending on our words, very much depending on our attitude and the way we treat them, right? And the right word can make them very enthused, and the wrong word can turn them very much off. So there also we have to be careful how we use the words. And there is also nice, and as we know, every experienced book distributor knows that the power of distributing books, the ability to distribute many books also depends very much on strong sadhana. When we chant concentrated rounds and good rounds and we have a strong sadhana, then we get that empowerment. And not only empowerment to distribute books, but also to remain in this kind of Krishna conscious energy. And even if people are very unkind, then we have the power of strength to remain kind to them. And that's kind of very powerful. Also there, Vaisheshika Prabhu shares an example that once he was distributing books, and then he met a young couple and he presented the books, and they were like very, we are Christians, we believe in Jesus, we don't, no interest in these books. Like very in a harsh way, And then somehow Vaisheshika, he said that he had a very strong morning program. He felt great spiritually empowered. So he got the he was able to respond in a very kind way. He said, "Oh wow, you believe in Jesus Christ. That means you're a lover of God. It's so wonderful. I'm so happy to meet people that love God. I fully understand. I wish you a wonderful day and have a nice day." And turned and continued. And then, they were like, they were like struck, and actually like 15 minutes, 20 minutes later, they came back. And Vaisheshika was distributing to someone else, and he saw a couple there. Why they are coming back? And they approached him, and they told him, "We're really sorry. The way we spoke very harshly to you, but the way you reacted really touched our hearts. You're really a man of God, and we really respect this. So please forgive us." And of course, Vaisheshika managed to also give them a book then. So, in this way, it's a nice example that because if Vaisheshika would say, then get lost, and also react in a harsh way, then they would. But by being strong in his spiritual sadhana and just remaining kind, they really were moved and changed. So that is very powerful. Yes?
So, if, like you said, when you were in Vrindavan, someone spoke harshly to you, and those words still linger in your heart, you still remember it. So, what would you suggest us if an authority, your Sankirtan leader or the temple president, says something that hurts you? How would you respond
to that? Yeah. Yeah, it's a very good question. Thank you. I mean, of course, it's an advanced level, but in principle, we should embrace it. Especially if it's our teacher, because the word disciple in English comes from discipline. So if I accept someone as my teacher and I have surrendered to him, I mean the guru, even if it's the temple president or an authority in the sense of it's my authority, then I should understand that actually it's for my benefit, and I should embrace it and accept it, and accept the chastisement. But yeah, it's, as I said, like in my own example, of course, as I said, this was not my teacher, so it was a little different situation. But of course, if I would be really humble, then I would also take it as Krishna's words and just be humbly accepting. But because I have some ego and some pride, I kind of didn't like it so much. But ideally, we should take it. There is a statement in the Manu Samhita that a Brahmana, when someone praises him, he should take it as poison, and if someone criticizes him, he should take it as nectar. I mean, that's again very high level. But why? Because if too many people praise me, there's a danger that I become puffed up, and that desire for pratishta, for recognition and honor, is kind of fueled, which is a great obstacle. But if someone criticizes me, it always, serves in a way that I become humble. Maybe I reflect. Maybe there's something truth about it. Maybe I can learn something. Mm-hmm. So in that sense.
So I myself, if when that happened in the past, I always told people by a letter, email, that this and this, it hurts me, or blah, blah, blah. And then it's off my chest. Otherwise, it stays. And then if they say sorry, it's finished. One time, in 1975, I had a German president who was very, very heavy, and many devotees blooped. And every day he had an Easter ghosty, and all my friends were leaving, and I said, Prabhu, if you continue to be this heavy, everyone will bloop. So he vanished me all traveling Sankirtan. Anyway, whenever I heard his name, I went like, And my god sister Nikunya Vasily in Radhades, her brother blooped because of him. Oh. And so every time we heard his name, went, ah! So one time I met him in Radhades. I said, Parivida, and I went like, so then, I told him, and then he apologized, and now we're friends. Mm. But for like 20 years, when I heard his name, like, so myself, I just, to get rid of it, I mention it humbly, not I just say it hurts me, right. and or it was not right.
Yes, Thank you for sharing that. I think it's important because, and that, like when we speak of this non-violent communication, it's about you speak it from your. You don't say you did this, you said like that, but this is what happened with me. You know, when you said this, I felt this is what happened with me, and then it's kind of you stay with you. You don't accuse anyone. You take a humble position. You just express how you feel, and yes, that's certainly a good way to deal with it.
And also, we're not all the same. Like Dhruva Maharaj, he was a Kshatriya.
Right.
So later on, Narada Muni tells him, when he's there in the forest, because I wrote a musical about it, so I know the story by heart. He says, "You're too young. You know, you're just a boy. Why don't you go home later when you're older? Then you go to the forest." And he says, "You know, what you said was very, very nice, but I'm a Kshatriya, and these words, they in my heart, they don't fall. You know, I can't. I want to do it." Right. So like that, we're not all very humbled. We can just accept it like that.
Right.
That's very difficult. Yeah.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Yeah, thank you for this class. I think it's very relevant. And just I think when we have this cutting words, because we have the statements, the words of a sadhu in cutting, and I think this experience what you have, everybody can relate to it somehow. And it's of course it's the ego what is cut down, but still it's a cut, and a cut has to heal. So we have to, each one of us has to figure out what is the right medicine to heal. And of course with the time we can think, okay, it was meant by Krishna, it was meant, and then I take the real lesson out of it. But otherwise we have to really process this sometimes for a while. It's most of us not on this level that immediately on the spot we can accept it, because it hurts. And of course it's the ego, but who is on this level to kind of, thank you Prabhu, you know, but it's something what comes later, at least for me, where I think about it, and then I think, okay, maybe Krishna want to tell me something. But my question actually is, because we very much, as Pravita Prabhu also described in our modern days Vaishnava tradition, you know, it became like the main thing to cut. And even if we don't have the authority, or the you know, we like to cut. You know, some new bhakta comes in the ashram, and the bhakta who was the last one, he immediately started to cut. You know, so but we also have to understand that words, they have also a nourishing factor.
Right.
And of course, you said also, you know, it's like poison if somebody praises us, but sometimes we need also to kind of somebody who gives us a direction. Well, I think you do this very good.
Right.
Maybe you can continue in this, or you know, gives us some hints where we are can put more effort in it. Yeah. So where is the balance?
Yeah. Great question, great point. Yeah, I mean that's the classic, you know. We got a Bhakta program starting tomorrow, and then, you know, 5 new Bhaktas are coming, and then they are new Bhaktas, they don't know how to do things, and they do all the time something wrong, and from all sides everyone is kind of, don't touch the plate, no, wash your hands, no, don't defeat like this, no, bow down, no, like all the time, and the Bhaktas after 3 days they're like, I'm running away, you know. So that's why it's very important, you know, like there is the Bhakta leader, and he takes care of the Bhaktas, and no one else has a right to chastise them, no one else has a right to tell them anything. If they see something, they tell the Bhakta leader, and the one person goes and kindly explains and tells him and trains. Because if everyone is just coming and cutting, but yeah, as he said, we have the tendency. Also when Sunday program, new guests are coming, someone is for the first time at the temple, and then, you know, we immediately, instead of welcoming the guest, we immediately cut. And never see the person again. Yes. His Holiness Bhakti Charu Maharaj often spoke about this Vaishnava Sadachar, you know, like how to behave, how to properly, the etiquette, Vaishnava etiquette. And Maharaj made an important point. He said that actually to cut someone or to rectify or to chastise or to correct someone, you need to have the adhikar or the position to do so. And in general, it's those who have spiritual authority, like the guru, teacher, shiksha, diksha guru, they have an authority. They can anytime just, because it's their service. Then the managerial authority, like a temple president, temple commander, of course, again, it's how they do it is important also, but still they have the authority to actually correct someone. And beside of them, no one else has the right to do so. And then a third category is if you ask for permission. You know, so you can go to someone, Prabhuji, is it okay if I give you a feedback? If the person says yes, then you can cut. I mean, still, you still have to do it in a proper way. But if the person says no, that means no, I don't want to get a feedback from you. And if you're not my authority and I don't trust you, then you should respect. So then I will not give a feedback to you. Then maybe I go to your authority and tell your authority, and that person can tell me and correct me, because I didn't got the permission to tell it the person straight. So that's another thing we can do. We can ask for permission, and so in that way the Vaishnava etiquette kind of gives some guidelines on who is allowed to correct. So that's one thing, and just coming. And another aspect is also that, and I like your point that when we speak of poison and nectar, that yes, of course, the words encouragement, empowerment is very important, and we all need it. Like we all need someone who encourages us, who gives us some good feedback. We all need that. And your particular question was, where is the balance between cutting and kind words, or encouraging?
You said that poison.
Yeah,
poison is the.
Yeah, right. I guess that requires some maturity, and especially the spiritual master. He will understand what the disciple needs, or a senior devotee hopefully will understand what the person exactly needs. Okay, this person maybe already has a low self-esteem and is maybe not so self-confident, so maybe I should give a little more encouraging words and be careful with how I say. Someone else might be too self-confident and proud, so maybe he needs a little bit cutting. So that's in the judgment of the senior who should know. I would answer like that, but maybe probably like
let me see
add
what I wanted
something.
to say. It is also.
Yeah.
Can I just finish this?
Yeah, please.
It is also the way you say it, and if you correct someone, they should know. You should have a relationship with him that he knows you're a well-wisher. Only
Exactly,
if something happens, like if someone, for instance, is his feet towards a deity, then you would say, but then your face should be very gentle. One time there was a Harinam in Amsterdam, and there were 300 devotees from the Radhanath Swami came, and Satyananda Swami, I think they had a boat travel around, and then they came and they blocked the whole pavement, so the non-devotees, they were annoyed, they had to go on the street. So I went like, like this. And then Mother Ishani told me, don't do like this, so do like this. I have the nature to go like, stupid, or so that's why I have these eyebrows so heavy, so I have to always like this. So that's the way, if you correct, like if he would be sitting with his legs towards him, I would, not like, but like that. Then they know it's friendly.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, that's exactly what Krishna says. Pleasing and beneficial means that the one who receives the feedback should be able to feel that it comes out from love and not from envy. And that's often the problem. That's actually the main point I forgot to say before. The main point, Bhakti Charumaraj says that it's about the motivation. If you correct someone with the intention of envy or ego, the other person will feel it and it will not be nice. But if you actually correct someone from the intention of love, compassion, everyone will be able to take it. As you said, because you can feel it. It comes from a heart of love, not envy. Yeah. Okay, we had one question from...
Hare Krishna Prabhu, I think Parivira Prabhu's story sort of answered it, but I always have a question about... I understand the principle of etiquette that the spiritual master and the authority can correct, but my question is always in friendships when two people are on an equal level and you see someone do something really, really bad, I guess then we can do it, but just how do we do it then? Because, for instance, say for instance I have a friend and I know that he's doing something wrong and it's not good, and it's not always practical to first go to the spiritual master and then back.
Right.
But there should be some room in a friendship
Yeah.
for things like that. What would you say?
Yeah, certainly. And I mean, I partially also touched on this when I mentioned that we can ask for permission.
Okay.
Like in a sense of, and as Parivita Prabhu also said, in a humble way, like, and people can feel that, if you have a friendship, you tell someone, Mataji, can I give you a feedback? I really want to, I see something, I would like to help you, I like to point something out. And in my humble opinion, what I see, maybe I'm wrong, but I would like to say, people will able to digest this.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a question of the mentality that we have and then the way we approach, I would say. Okay, we are almost...
In these stories from the Bhagavatam, like in this case...
Yeah, so Ruchi didn't
in these
follow.
pastimes, it's all, it's organized by the Lord within Paramatma that she get angry. Otherwise, wouldn't go to the forest. And so all these pastimes of the Lord Singadev also, Prahlad, everything is just like the Lord is a director and he organized that someone gets angry and someone gets hurt. And like that, in order to show how great Rupa Maharaj is, or how wonderful the mother is, and these qualities. And about one thing more about harsh words, we did in the Ramayana, when Ram walks off to get their deer Marichi, because Sita wanted her to give to Bharat. So then Marichi, when he died, when he was shot, when Ram found out he was a demon, he cried out with the voice of Ram, Lakshman, help me! And then Lakshman immediately knew that it's not Ram, that is Marichi. And he didn't go. So, and Sita said, why are you just standing there? Have you been waiting all this time to get me, like this? Yeah. And then Lakshman said, oh, my dear mother, how can these words issue from thy mouth like red hot iron? They pierce my heart. And that's why these words. Anyway, that's the last thing. Haribol.
Thank you so much. Yeah, that's a beautiful example in the scriptures. I mean, Mother Sita, she's just such a divine, just a divine personality. But in that situation, she was so aggrieved, and accused Lakshman. And actually, later on in the story, we find out that Lakshman, because Hanuman it was a question: is this Sita's ankle bells or something, or not ankle bells, but necklace? And he said, I don't know, like I only saw the feet of Mother Sita. So and then she was so harsh in that sense. Yeah. But it's pastime, of course. But pastime in order to instruct us, that we can learn. Okay, I think we have the last Kishore Prabhu.
Thank you for your lecture. I just want to shortly comment on Mataji, Mataji question. Sometimes we are lost, really lost. We don't know what to do, but why not to pray to Krishna for intelligence? It's like
good idea.
Thank you.
Yes, Prabhupada would sometimes say this requires a little intelligence or requires some common sense. Good point. So we can also take shelter in Krishna. All right, thank you so much. So we heard this morning from Suruchi, and certainly she didn't follow any etiquette, any Vaishnava etiquette. She was very harsh, and as a result, Dhruva Maharaj's heart was pierced. And we also spoke about how the power of words is important for book distribution, how Prabhupada's words are very powerful. Every page of Prabhupada's books is very potent, so distributing Srila Prabhupada's books is a very wonderful way to share these teachings. And we spoke about some Vaishnava etiquette aspect of using words. Good, thank you very much for this opportunity. Thank you. Hare Krishna, Srila Prabhupada ki
Jai. Krishna Rupa Prabhu ki Jai.
Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki Jai. Vanchakalpa.
Thank you very much, Prabhu. Hare Krishna. So now we will continue with breakfast, and there's a small change. We won't have breakfast in the temple room as originally planned because there's some cleaning for the Abhishek needed. So you can head downstairs to take prasadam, and the ladies will be able to take prasadam in the prasadam room, and we request the boys to come up here in the entrance area of the temple room, and also in the brahmacharya ashram there's another area where you can take prasadam. So the prasadam will be served in downstairs, and you can spread to the 3 stories. Thank you very much. So then we will continue at 11. Ramananda Gopal Prabhu will lead a Mangal Homa here, and we can accompany it with Kirtan. And the Kirtan schedule will be printed shortly outside. Hare Krishna. And if you want to lead Kirtan, if you are a Midranga player, please get in touch with me so we can allocate you a spot in the Kirtan schedule. Hare Krishna. Nisingari Bhagavan ki